I never thought I would find myself in a place so dark. A few years ago, I was just a regular guy, a modest tech entrepreneur named Alex. I had dreams, ambitions, and more importantly, a trusted circle of friends and family who fueled my passion. It felt like life was just starting to unfold, like I was on the verge of something big. And for a while, everything was perfect. But sometimes, life has a way of flipping your world upside down when you least expect it. It first began with whispers, subtle changes in the way my closest friends treated me. At first, I shrugged it off. Maybe they're just busy, I thought, but as days turned into weeks, the whispers grew louder. It felt like a storm was brewing and I was standing in the eye of it, unaware of what would soon crash down on me. One fateful evening, I got an invitation. It was a dinner party at Jason's place, my best friend since college. I was excited. Maybe we can discuss some ideas for our startup, I thought. That night, as I walked into his luxurious home, everything seemed fine. Laughter filled the room, and for a moment I let myself be swept up in the warmth of friendship. But as the night wore on, I found myself on the outside looking in. I overheard Jason talking to Sarah, another close friend from the group. He thinks he's going to make it big, but look at him. He's nothing without us, he said, chuckling. My heart sank. It felt like cold water had been poured over me. The realization hit hard. These were the people I trusted most. The betrayal wasn't just in their words. It echoed through my very being, and you know what she said to me? "You're wasting your time, Alex. You should know your place." The laughter that followed stung. Those words cut deeper than any knife. It wasn't just mockery. It was a complete dismissal of my dreams and aspirations. I left that night feeling humiliated, dejected, and utterly alone. As the days turned into weeks, the betrayal festered. The people I thought would stand by me were now my tormentors. They spread rumors about my work, undermined my ideas, and made sure to exclude me from every plan. It felt like I was being erased from my own life. I was lost, uncertain of what to do, but then, in that desperate state, something began to shift within me. I reflected on my journey. I had built my startup from scratch. I had sleepless nights, persistent rejection, and relentless optimism. Yet all it took was a few careless words from those I trusted to bring me to my knees. No more, I had to rise. Those feelings of despair morphed into anger, not just any anger, but a burning desire for revenge. I thought of my friends and how they belittled me. I would show them that I was more than just their laughingstock. I didn't need them. They would see what I was truly capable of. It was time to play the long game, and I started to write a new chapter, one that would lead to my ultimate comeback. I began working on a revolutionary app, something that could disrupt the market. I studied late into the night, poured every ounce of my effort into this project. Each string of code I wrote was a silent affirmation. Each hour spent learning and strategizing became like a checkpoint along my path to redemption. But I was careful. I wouldn't let anyone know what I was building. I needed to surprise them. I collaborated with some contacts I had made over the years, people who believed in me and my vision. I needed to break away from the shadows they had cast over me. I started locking myself in my work, diving deeper into this new project. I was determined to rise from the ashes of humiliation. Then came the unexpected twist. My app caught the eye of a major investor, someone who had the power to take it to the next level. They loved my vision. They saw the potential in what I was creating. Suddenly, my dreams were on the brink of coming true, and the excitement was intoxicating. The moment I signed that deal felt like the birth of a new me. All my hard work was paying off, and I could feel the gears of fate beginning to turn in my favor. I was no longer the lost man who had walked into Jason's party. I was on my way to becoming something far more significant. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. They would understand my journey soon enough. I couldn't wait to show them. As I dove deeper into this world of entrepreneurship, the moment I had envisioned for my revenge drew closer with each success. But I wanted it to be impactful. I wanted them to truly feel the weight of their betrayal. With each step forward, I was building a powerful narrative where I could rise so high that they couldn't look down on me anymore. As I stood on the brink of success, I began to reflect on those early days. The betrayal they had inflicted hurt, yes, but it was also the fuel that ignited my transformation. They thought I was nothing without them, but soon they would learn just how wrong they were. And as I prepared for the storm that was about to unfold, I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude for what they had done. It pushed me to become a better version of myself. Little did they know, the first chapter of my revenge story was just beginning. As my app gained momentum, I could feel the anticipation swelling inside me. The moment I signed that contract with the investor was the fuse that lit my path forward. I was ready to turn my dreams into reality, and with that came newfound power that could reshape my destiny and redefine how I'd be perceived by those who once mocked me. I didn't waste time. I hired brilliant developers, designers, and a marketing team, all drawn by my vision. Together, we were on a mission to create something extraordinary, a product that would not only change the tech landscape but also position me at the forefront of the industry. Each day became a relentless marathon of innovation and strategy. I was dedicated to building a company that would soon expand beyond my wildest dreams. As I poured my heart and soul into this venture, the whispers of my former friends echoed in my mind, constantly reminding me of their betrayal. Each dismissal and taunt became a motivation, a fuel that propelled me forward. I began to think of how their laughter would transform into stunned silence when they saw who I had become. Months went by and the app launched with a bang. Feedback streamed in, each positive comment validating my hard work and resilience. The user base skyrocketed almost overnight. I watched in disbelief as my dreams began to crystallize into reality and the seeds of my revenge were starting to sprout. I was no longer the overlooked entrepreneur who was dismissed as a failure. I was becoming someone significant, someone formidable. I decided to throw a launch party, a huge one. I wanted to celebrate my success not only with my team but also to make a statement. I wanted those who had betrayed me to see the life I had built for myself. It would be a night to remember, and I would make sure they would not forget my name. As I sent out invitations, I couldn't help but summon a smirk thinking about those I once called friends. Images of Jason's smug smile and Sarah's derisive laughter swirled in my mind. They would be there, and while they thought they were coming to celebrate my modest success, they had no idea I was about to unveil an empire. The night of the launch arrived, and the venue was stunning. A lavish banquet hall transformed into a haven of luxury, brimming with energy and promise. As guests mingled, I felt a rush of excitement. I had made it. I stood there dressed in an impeccable suit, surveying the crowd, and in that moment I felt like a king surveying his kingdom. Then, amidst the crowd, I spotted them. Jason and Sarah arrived together much like old times, but the difference was palpable. They wore their smiles, but I could sense an undercurrent of unease. They had always seen me as a fool, someone to be belittled, and now they were faced with the realization that I was becoming bigger than they had ever imagined. "Alex, what an incredible event!" Jason approached me, his voice laced with a forced enthusiasm. I could see he was sweating the tiniest beads, nervous about what was going to unfold. "Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate you coming," I replied with a calm smile, knowing that my presence drew a stark contrast to the dismissive words I had overheard that night months ago. "It's been quite a journey." He tried to maintain his facade, but it crumbled the moment my reveal came. I took the stage, the crowd hush fell over them, and every eye was on me. The cameras flashed, and I felt the energy thrumming through the air. As I spoke, explaining the vision behind my app, the achievements we had conquered, I could see shock wash over Jason and Sarah. Their expressions went from surprise to confusion and finally to disbelief. I unveiled the success metrics, sharing just how far we had come in such a short time, and the pride of my team radiated throughout the room. "And we're just getting started," I concluded, my heart racing as I prepared for the final punch. "I want to say a big thank you to those who never believed in me. Because without your doubts, I might never have reached this point." A rush of laughter broke the tension, and while the guests reveled in my triumph, I finally felt the sweet taste of revenge fogging the air around me. As I scanned the room, I found Jason and Sarah, their faces pale, unable to mask the realization that the man they had ridiculed had risen far beyond what they could have predicted. In that moment, surrounded by applause, my heart swelled not with hatred but with a powerful sense of accomplishment. This wasn't merely a revenge plot, it was my story of resilience and retribution. I had turned my lowest moments into my greatest triumphs, and their laughter had turned into silence. As the night drew to a close and the afterglow of success hung in the air, I realized that my revenge had not only been a personal victory, but a beacon of hope for others who had faced their own struggles. Minuscule sparks of doubt could smolder into flames of greatness. That was the lesson I had learned, and I was eager to share it. Still, my journey was not over. I had planned what was next, a more public display to end this chapter on the right note. I wanted everyone to know that betrayal does not define us. It teaches us to be stronger, to be wiser. I'd publish a blog post recounting my journey, not just the humiliations but the hard work that followed. I wanted those who read it to feel inspired and empowered. With my newfound wealth and influence, I reached out to charitable organizations that focused on uplifting young entrepreneurs. I focused on creating scholarships for those who had talent but lacked opportunities. My revenge morphed into a legacy, a message that weakness can become strength and despair can fuel ambition. It was an elegant twist I hadn't anticipated, but it felt fitting. My former friends might have tried to erase me, but I had written my own story. One where I rose to the highest echelons, and rather than revel in their downfall, I chose to extend a hand downward. As I, a now successful billionaire, reflected on my journey, I found solace in the notion that I was not just thriving, I was here to make an impact. My narrative didn't end with laughter over their mockery, but rather echoing hope for those still fighting their battles. And while my former friends were left dumbfounded by my transformation, I had found empowerment through forgiveness. The ultimate victory wasn't just in the riches I garnered, but in the legacy I was building, a story that inspired many, a narrative of redemption where I could truly say, I returned as a billionaire. Watch my journey unfold and witness the change that comes from rising at your lowest. My revenge was not sweet, it was transcendent, illuminating the path for others, and for that I was grateful. As I wrapped up my reflections on that spectacular launch party, something became clear to me. The narrative of my life had shifted into a new phase. I wasn't just reclaiming my ground, I was rewriting the rules of engagement. My former friends, Jason and Sarah, had merely been the catalyst for an incredible transformation, but now it was time to turn my focus to what lay ahead. I dove headfirst into my new role as a tech entrepreneur. Every day became a chance to innovate, to disrupt, and to build an empire I could be proud of. I understood now that if I wanted to solidify my place at the top, I needed to extend my reach. I began networking tirelessly, connecting with influential figures in the tech industry. I attended conferences, spoke at panels, and hosted meet and greets that put me in front of the right people. My ambition had transformed into a weapon, and I wielded it with precision. As the months rolled on, my app blossomed into a tech phenomenon. Industry accolades poured in, and we were recognized as a top contender in the market. I had gone from being the butt of Jason and Sarah's joke to being celebrated as a visionary. Each article, each award felt like a dagger of realization aimed directly at their egos. They had underestimated me, and now their ignorance echoed loudly in every forum and publication. One day, while scrolling through industry news, I came across an article titled "New Innovations That Are Shaping the Future of Tech." My heart raced when I realized it featured my app prominently. The piece commended its unique approach and predicted it would redefine user engagement. I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. I had done what they thought was impossible. With every ounce of success, I felt a rush of power that came with the realization that I was no longer a spectator in my own life. But my plans didn't end there. I plotted my next move carefully. To truly seal my status and deliver the poetic justice I craved, I would need to hit them where it hurt the most: their pride. They had introduced me to the world of tech, but they had also been the nails in my coffin. I wanted the world to see the truth. Their betrayal had only fueled my ascent. With that in mind, I organized a second event that would extend beyond our industry network. I wanted this to be personal. I decided on a charity gala spotlighting young innovators who could benefit from the success I had achieved. My goal was to use this platform not only to give back but to expose Jason and Sarah to an uncomfortable truth. They had never seen the value in my dreams, but now I would showcase achievements they couldn't ignore. The night unfolded in beautiful grandeur. The hall was adorned with shining chandeliers, and I watched as guests arrived dressed in their finest. Many were prominent figures who had supported my journey. I felt a thrill run through me as I welcomed everyone, particularly as I kept my eye out for those who had once looked down on me. When Jason and Sarah walked in together, their faces betrayed a mixture of surprise and concern. I could sense their discomfort as they scanned the room, attempting to gauge the situation. I approached them with a smile, my demeanor inviting yet slightly teasing. "Glad you could make it," I said, and watched Jason squirm. "It's going to be a memorable night." "Of course, couldn't miss seeing what you're up to now," he said casually, though his eyes gave him away he was on edge. I took the stage later that evening, and the atmosphere shifted decidedly tense as I began to speak. "Tonight, we're here not just to celebrate success, but to pave the way for those who dare to dream just like I did once." I highlighted successful projects rising from the community, garnering enthusiasm and applause. With every success story shared, I could see Jason's smile fade. "See," I said, leaning into my message, "it's essential to uplift those around us. You never know who will surprise you." I locked eyes with Jason and Sarah, letting my words sink in. "And some of us might just rise to heights you couldn't fathom." Laughter rippled through the audience, but I felt a deep-rooted satisfaction that this was only the beginning. I revealed that all proceeds from the event would be used to fund scholarships for aspiring entrepreneurs. It was thrilling to not only give back but to aim that spotlight back at those who had attempted to drown my spirit. As the night concluded, attendees mingled, and I noticed Jason and Sarah retreating toward the exit. Disheartened, they navigated away from the energetic atmosphere and into the cold reality of what they had miscalculated. I decided it was time to approach them one last time. "Oh, before you go," I said, my voice smooth yet biting, "I'd like to take a moment to remind you both of an important lesson in life. Watching others succeed when you once doubted them can be challenging. But I am here tonight as a testament that dreams should never be dismissed based on opinion. You might want to rethink how you treat others. It can make all the difference." With that, I watched their faces flush crimson in a mix of shock and humiliation. It felt good, standing strong, a sense of empowerment washing over me. For a moment, I considered how far I had come, but also felt the importance of this moment. It was not to humiliate them, but to reinforce that their opinions did not define my worth. In the weeks that followed, the buzz about my gala continued to circulate in the tech community. It was no longer just a success, it became a movement of inspiration. Many started reaching out to collaborate, share ideas, and get involved in uplifting startups. I was becoming more of a leader in my industry, a role model for those who believed in resilience. On a quiet evening, as I sat in my office overlooking the vibrant city below, I received an unexpected message on LinkedIn. It was from Jason. He requested to meet for coffee. For a moment, I hesitated, curiosity competing with skepticism. Part of me wanted to ignore his request altogether, but another part knew that history didn't have to repeat itself. Perhaps he was seeking redemption. Perhaps he was finally ready to acknowledge his missteps. I agreed to the meeting, contemplating how to approach such a pivotal conversation. When we sat down, tension hung in the air, thick yet defined like an electric charge. He fidgeted with his coffee cup, seemingly unsure of where to begin. "I wanted to apologize," Jason said, looking away, "for everything. The way we treated you, it was wrong." I allowed his words to hang for a moment, letting the silence echo between us. "It's interesting that you've come to this point," I replied. "After all that's happened, why now?" He nodded, taking a deep breath. "I thought I'd lost my chance to admit it. Watching your journey over the past year made me realize how narrow-minded I was. I let insecurity dictate my actions, and it cost me a friend." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt almost too good to be true. "You know," I said, choosing my words carefully, "it takes courage to acknowledge mistakes. I appreciate your honesty." The conversation turned deeper, revealing vulnerabilities we had both kept hidden. We discussed dreams and aspirations, and before I knew it, our past grievances transformed into plans of collaboration. With time, we could mend what had been broken, working together to inspire new entrepreneurs. As Jason and I left the cafe, there was a sense of relief and hope. Life can often lead us down unpredictable paths, but forgiveness opened the door to a new alliance. Looking back, I realized that revenge had not only been about humiliation or pride. It transformed into something far more profound: the chance to rebuild relationships, foster growth, and inspire others, not only in business but in understanding the human experience. I had risen from my lowest point, transcended despair, and emerged as a beacon of possibility. After all, true victory lies not just in what we achieve, but in who we become along the way. And while my journey of revenge might be nearing its twilight, a new dawn of unity and collaboration was just beginning. It was bittersweet yet fulfilling, a quest that ultimately lifted not only me but others around me, proving that no one should ever be underestimated.